All right, guys, how is it going? Thanks everyone also for the well wishes. Yeah, I had like a stomach bug the last few days, nausea. I don't know what it was. Feeling much better today. And we have an awesome guest here. We have Nika Louw, who was the actress who played Allie in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film, which is a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Sawyer Massacre. So if anyone hasn't seen it, I put it in the description. But let's bring on Nika.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Nika? We already asked this, but we'll
Yeah,
keep up the performance.
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. But so you're also a musician, which I am also. So that instantly, we can go on for hours. So you want to see how you got into music? We'll talk music first and get it out of the way. That way,
Yeah,
that
let's
way
do
it doesn't go on and on because I
it.
can talk about music forever.
Yeah.
When did you first get into music?
I mean, I've been singing like since I could talk. But I started like actually taking voice lessons when I was 10, and I lived in a really small town, and so we didn't have like a lot of options. The only voice teacher was actually an opera teacher.
Mhm.
So that's how I actually got into opera. So I do all sorts of genres. I love jazz as well, but I'm classically trained. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's sort of how it started. And then I did some piano and guitar lessons to kind of accompany that. But yeah, singing is my main thing.
No, that's great. I saw some of your reels on Instagram. That you have a beautiful voice,
Thank
great
you.
voice.
Thank you so much.
That's the one thing that I always felt I couldn't do well is sing. Like I play guitar well, I play other instruments well, and then when it comes to maybe it's just because I'm a critic and I don't like my own voice, but
Yeah,
I don't.
that's honestly
I'm
that's
sure that
quite
happens.
possible. I think everyone feels that way to a certain extent. Like I don't love watching videos of myself performing.
Yeah,
Um, just because it's weird. You're always like listening to yourself kind of in your own head, and then when you see it like on a screen or it's odd. I think you're probably better than you give yourself credit for. I find that's the case with most people.
yeah, that is true. Because I like you said, I find that true with pretty much everyone I talk to. That they don't like their own voice, or they don't like looking at themselves on camera,
Yeah.
everything like that. So probably maybe I'll take a closer look. We have the director of the film. Is this his
Ew.
account? This is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's Steve there. Yeah.
We have Steve Merlos, right? I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
That's how I've been
Merlos.
saying it.
All right. So I'm
Merlo,
good.
I hope
Steve
that's right.
Merlos here, the
Oh,
director of this awesome film, this fan film of the Sawyer Massacre. Which good to have you here, man. And he is working on a film. We're trying to get it into production. Unseen. I will be definitely putting out videos on that as more information goes out because definitely deserves his stuff being promoted because it's some great stuff he's putting out. And definitely excited for Unseen. But thanks for stopping by, man. Thanks for being here. And he sure doesn't like his own voice, he says. So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I guess it's a thing.
Not his voice is odd. I mean, it's odd to hear your own voice. Don't worry, Steve. I'm not
Yeah.
calling you that specifically.
so, so that's how you started with music. So I'm guessing the music and singing started first. So then, when did you feel like acting was something you wanted to do?
I mean, I always wanted to do it, but like I said, growing up in a really small town until the age of 12, there were
Yeah.
like no opportunities at all. So when I moved to Kelowna, which is where I currently live, I started doing some theater stuff, which was super fun. I always kind of wanted to do film, but I had no idea how to even get started. And then I think it was like the summer before we did the promotional trailer for this film. That must have been back in like 2018, maybe 2019. I think it was 2019. That's when I actually, got my first agent, started
Mhm.
auditioning for things. And yeah, the promotional trailer for this project, which we shot a couple years before actually filming, that was the first film project I ever did. So yeah, this film definitely has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. When you went into this film, were you a horror film fan, or was it just another part, just try out, see if I get it, or were you already a fan of horror films?
So I had never really seen a lot of horror films. Like I'd seen a few, but it wasn't something that I like grew up with or was ever really exposed to. So it was more just like um I was excited for the opportunity, and I really actually had so much fun doing the horror genre. I think I have more fun acting in it now than I do watching it. But yeah, it was kind of just like,
Yeah.
I guess, luck that this was the first genre that came across my path.
Okay. Would you be interested in doing more horror? It sounds like you would.
Yeah, for sure. It's so much fun, and I love the intensity of it. I think it's conducive to a fun experience for sure.
I can imagine. I've always just wondered what it'd be like because I've been a horror fan since I'm 5 years old, 6 years old when I saw Halloween, and
Yeah.
always just thought it would be a blast being on the set of a horror film. And it's definitely got to be an absolute like one of a kind experience, especially the first one you do. You know,
Yeah.
I can't imagine. That's got to be so awesome. So how did casting go? Did you have to
Yeah, so
like how that whole process go?
So I just auditioned for the promotional trailer, and then I got brought back for the actual film.
Mhm.
I mean, Steve can tell you more about this, but I had no idea how to audition. It was like a self tape, and I didn't realize that for self tape, you're supposed to like put your camera on like a stable surface, have a blank background, whatever. So
Yeah.
I just had my mom like filming me, like pretending I was tied to a chair, and the camera was like shaking, and I was looking straight into the camera. And um, I mean, I think it was probably like the worst self tape ever, but I'm glad
Uh,
Steve saw my potential.
I'm sure it wasn't the worst one ever. Remember we were saying earlier about not liking your own voice and everything? See, it comes right back.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, that was my audition. And yeah, Steve let me know he wanted to cast me for this promotional trailer. And then once we kind of had a schedule set in place, or like the idea of, okay, we're actually going to film this thing. He asked me if I wanted to continue the role. And of course I said yes. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. I love the chemistry between the characters. Yes, you play Allie and Jimmy, the other main character. Great dynamic between you guys on set, I'm sure too, right? Just
Yeah.
the chemistry there.
We were so lucky. The whole cast, like, we clicked immediately.
You can see it.
Yeah, Jordan, the guy playing Jimmy, one of his best friends on screen, he said like immediately when he met him, they actually became best friends in real life too. And we're all still close. We message each other all the time. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just really lucky. Like, we genuinely all got along so well.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. Like I said, it shows in the film because just there's some scenes that like really tug at your heartstrings at the end there, like 'cause things get intense. And how's it feel now, knowing like we talked a little before we went live, when you studied up a little by watching Texas Chainsaw, the first one, from like multiple times. How's it feel knowing that now this film exists, like in the legacy of that whole series in Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Like this is now a part of it.
I think honestly, it's a great honor, especially like, I'll go through the comments every now and then, and people saying like we've had some people say like this is their favorite fan film to do with, the whole Texas Chainsaw world. And
Mhm.
it's really awesome. I mean, that film has such an incredible legacy. Like, even when I didn't know anything about horror, I knew about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool to be a part of it, and we've had a lot of positive reception, which is great to see.
Yeah, and like I was saying before we went live, I don't watch too many fan films, but out of all the ones I've seen, this is by far like the best one I've seen. Like the performances by everybody, your performance, and I forget his name, who plays Jimmy.
Jordan.
That's Jordan. I don't know why I always skip on that name. Everybody's performance though was fantastic, and just the whole feel of it. It felt very Tobe Hooper. It felt like it had a lot of the same visual imagery that you have in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think that helped it a lot too. Because I feel it's a great companion piece to the first one. Like if people in the chat, if you guys haven't seen it yet, I think Carrie put the link in there. It's on YouTube. Definitely check this out, especially if you're a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because this I can see like in future like watch alongs and stuff of doing like the series. This I'd watch this before the original just to put it in time frame chronologically. But it's worthy of it for me. Like I've seen Friday fan films that are just not good, but this was just very, very, very good. Like all around, the sound design was good, the cinematography was good. Like this is what people should be focusing on when the word fan film is used, because a lot of people hear fan film and immediately they think low budget is
I
the
mean,
first thing they think.
this was low budget,
Oh,
but
no, of course. But the part that I feel like they don't get enough credit, just hearing that word fan film, is that these are fans of these movies making these films. And they're putting in so much love because they have that love to begin with the series. Like you see that in a lot of fan films. Sometimes it's not executed as well, sometimes it is. But these are people that love these franchises, like Friday the 13th and Halloween, that are making these movies. And I think that doesn't get as much attention brought to it as it should, and as much love shown there as it should, because these are absolute fans that are making these good to, in this case, great movie.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying all that. And yeah, I
Of
mean,
course.
we wanted to do the franchise justice. And you know, I think I was one of the only people that was pretty new to the horror genre. Pretty much everyone else in the cast and crew like really were all huge fans.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're saying is absolutely true.
Nice. What do you think was, in your opinion, the most fun scene to film and the hardest scene to film?
Oh, okay.
Like a
I have
part
to
A, part B.
yeah, I have to think back a bit. I mean, honestly, a lot of the challenges came from like weather or just like, you know, other like outside factors.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like Texas is a hot place, but the first couple days that we were filming, it was so cold and we had to, you know, be outside in like our short sleeves and pretending to
Yeah.
be sweating. And that was hard just because it was like physically hard to deal with. And then, you know, some other days there was like a ton of wind. So things like that made it tough. I think like acting wise, um, I don't know. It's hard to say. Honestly, I think some of the hardest scenes for me actually were at the beginning when things aren't intense yet. Because I feel like when you get to a certain intensity or a certain point in the storyline, um, it starts to feel a lot more real. And you know, you've already had screen time with the other characters because we almost filmed it like chronologically.
Okay.
So the first scenes that we filmed are pretty much like the first scenes in the movie. So everything was just very new. Um, and yeah, it was honestly, I found those to be a bit more challenging to kind of keep them grounded. Um, and I think definitely the most fun scenes to film. Um, I liked all of the scenes in like cars. We had a couple of scenes, like obviously at the end when Jimmy and I are in the truck, and then um, one earlier with like the, you know, the five friends. Those were super fun just because we got to like drive around in old cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then also, I mean, I love screaming and being terrified. Um, so I really loved like actually I think maybe my favorite, as gruesome as it was I mean, am I allowed to spoil anything?
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, the scene where I'm watching Lorraine like have her head like I don't remember what he did to it, but
Yeah.
something, and I just have to watch. Yeah, that was that was really fun, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, in the moment, it's not so fun because it's pretty awful, but it's still really fun.
Oh, no, I can imagine. And just seeing how some of the effects were done, you know, and having all
Yeah.
the effects work. I mean, it's great effects work too in this movie.
Oh,
Which,
thanks. Yeah.
yeah, like there's really not really any negatives for me. I think when I did a review on it after I first talked to Steve and I saw it, I didn't have any real negatives. You know, like it's just definitely I think a high point in the Texas Chainsaw series, because I haven't been a fan of any of the real recent ones or anything. So if you guys in chat, if you guys are a fan of like the first few, then it dies for you after that, check this one out, because it feels very Hooper at times. Like the visual imagery is great, and yeah, like it fits right in with like the first few films. Maybe not the second, because the second's like off the wall crazy and not serious, but it is my favorite in the franchise. But so all right, so the funnest scene we went over. what do you think was the hardest scene, like, for you to get into the mind state of, because of how, disturbing some of the content is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there any scene that you're just like, all right, I gotta mentally prepare and get into like this mind state now for this to happen, or this is about to go down?
Mm-hmm. I definitely say, like, for all of them, especially all of the like pretty intense scenes, I did have to kind of, take some time before we started filming, to to get myself kind of in that mental state, because it's not just like an everyday normal conversation.
Yeah,
Um, I think honestly, like, I find that, like, when you're on set and when you have the costume on and there's the fake blood and you have, Leatherface standing there, it's actually
yeah,
it's not that difficult. You can kind of give it over to, like, your primal instincts. But one scene that I did, like, I guess, have a harder time with was, when, like, I'm in the closet hiding with Lorraine and Jimmy, um, because in that scene, like, it's weird because there's this quiet intensity. So you have to
mm,
somehow convey, like, your terror, but you're whispering, and also I wanted to be, like, fighting back tears, but in order to be fighting back tears and still have your tears be visible, as someone who at the time wasn't very good at crying on demand, that was kind of tough.
yeah.
But I still think it turned out pretty decent, and yeah, I mean, it was a challenge, but always a good challenge.
I think that's awesome. I agree. Challenges are always good. They push you further, right?
Yeah.
Um, at the end, guys, if anyone wants to leave questions, I'll say like questions for Nika. So if you want to like start, thinking of them, but get some questions in there at the end. Um, Now, have you done any other projects since that you're allowed to talk about, or?
Yeah, I've done a few, mostly indie stuff as well. I actually did a
Mm,
Hallmark movie, but I have no idea when that one's coming out. I thought it would be out already, but I think Hallmark's been kind of spacing out their releases more because of all the, like, strikes and
yeah,
stuff going on. Um,
no, I'm sure. Yeah,
but yeah, and nothing as standout as this one, I guess. Mostly just like short films. But yeah, they've been
okay.
fun. Actually, I did like a psychological thriller and then I did another horror one. But no other like slasher film, so still quite different than this one. Um,
Yeah. What were the other ones? What was the psychological thriller?
so that one is called The Priest. It was actually done by some film students here in Kelowna. They're awesome.
Okay.
They have their own little film company now. I've worked with them again. Um, I'm only in like one scene at the very end, but I really enjoyed that one as well. I basically get like kidnapped. Um,
That's always fun, right?
yeah, honestly, it was fun. I liked kind of that like naive, innocent role. That was fun.
Yeah.
Um,
And what was the horror one?
I actually don't know what they're calling it yet because it's still in post
Oh, okay.
production. But it's like it happens on Halloween. Um, it's like, I don't know, some like trick or treater serial killer, something like that. Um,
That sounds cool to me.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun too.
Mhm.
Um,
Nice.
yeah,
Any future projects for you, music wise?
I hope so. I'm doing some concerts over the summer just with like a vocal group that I'm in. So there's that going on. Yeah, just I don't know. I feel like the acting industry and I guess like performances in general have been kind of slow over the last little bit.
Yeah.
This whole year, especially like my auditions have been cut in like half, even maybe less than that. Yeah, just I
Yeah.
guess waiting for something else to come along. Um,
Yeah. Of course.
yeah, actually, I mean,
That's up to
I
well.
was recently in another short film, but we just finished filming, so it's hard to say how that's going to turn out.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, with your talent, something's gonna come along. Like,
Thank you.
sooner than later, trust me. But if on the topic of music again, what would you say, who are your top three influences, like singer wise, voice wise?
Oh, huh. I don't know if I really have any. That's hard to say. I think for each
Plus I'm
genre,
putting you on the spot, so
yeah. Um I think for each genre I have different influences. Um yeah, I mean, For classical, my method has always been just like learning it from sheet music and not really like listening to too many other singers. Actually, there's one lady I follow on Instagram. I what's her name? Let me check actually. So I
Okay.
can give you she sings like do you know the
Yeah,
Queen
I'll
of the
check it out.
Night aria? Do you know the Queen of the
Say it
Night
again.
aria?
I think that sounds familiar.
It's like it's like super high. She's like I don't know.
Okay.
It's really fun, but this artist she just sings it so effortlessly. Her name
Yeah.
is Lara Mayhew. I'm probably not saying that right, but
Okay.
yeah, I just really admire her kind of how effortless she can sing these incredibly difficult things. Um, and yeah, I mean, with classical, basically, mostly my influences are more composers, I'd say, than actual singers.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to like jazz, I listen to like, all of the greats from like, the mid 20th century, like Ella Fitzgerald, Doris Day. I
Yeah.
love Frank Sinatra as well.
Oh,
But
he's great. He's great.
yeah, I'd say in terms of like vocal style, I've mostly just relied on like finding what works for me. Um, because I love how a lot of people sound, but I'll also, I can recognize that their voice is different than mine, and often I find that
Yeah,
trying to imitate that just doesn't produce a great result.
I agree. It's the same with guitar playing. Is you got
Oh,
to
interesting.
find your own, your own style and stuff. Try not to imitate. Like, of course, you're always going to have influences. Like some of mine are the guitarist from Yes, an old progressive rock band. Joe Satriani. It goes down the list. But
Yeah.
I found over the years, the early years, that you're trying to sound like your influences until you slowly start just taking bits and pieces that work for you from those influences and incorporating it into your playing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like finding your own, but like taking little bits and pieces that work for you from your influences. So it's kind of similar, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the Crane School of Music in SUNY Potsdam, but didn't I stayed for 3 semesters, and I'm not a big classical guy. Like I'm a rock and roll guy, so like I mean I just couldn't see me playing classical music for 4 years, but it was a great experience for 3 semesters I was there for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna mention, like, I think my biggest influences are the people I know in real life. So of course, like my voice teacher that I currently have. Oh, I
Mm,
just thought someone mentioned Sarah Brightman. Actually, I should say Sarah Brightman is definitely an influence of mine.
there you go.
Both in terms of like musical theater, Phantom of the Opera, and like,
Mm,
and then more classical stuff as well. Um, but yeah, I'd say the people that I really have learned the most from are, of course, my voice teacher that I don't take lessons with her anymore, but I'm still very close with her. And then, other singers and vocalists that, have performed and I've witnessed in person. I
mm,
think I think it's more tangible that way when you actually see someone, like a normal person that, you just meet and they're
yeah.
incredible. I think that's very inspiring.
No, absolutely. She also says she hopes Stevie Nicks is one of your influences.
I do love some good. I mean, honestly, I love music from like I love all the way from like the 1950s to like the 1980s. Um
Yeah,
so
I it's the same way. I listen to such
yeah,
a vast, diverse amount of music.
yeah. I don't know how much like Stevie Nicks would influence my singing style, but I can definitely appreciate like really anyone's creations. So, yeah.
No, yeah. All right, now let's go the opposite direction. Influences acting wise, biggest influences.
I think I do have more for this. Um so I really love Florence Pugh. Um I saw her first in Midsummer, which was actually like the first, I guess, horror movie I
Yeah,
watched. It's quite a different
great movie.
tone than most horror. Yeah, but just incredible. She is so she's just so convincing in every performance. She can really like connect with the character, and I just found it incredible like how natural she is, especially considering like
Yeah,
she doesn't have like a super long history of acting. Like that was pretty fresh into her career, and I found that really inspiring. And also just like how versatile she is. You know, if you look at all the different roles she's played, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. No, she's a phenomenal actress, and it blew me away when I saw Midsommar for the first time. I said, wow, who is this chick? Like, because like you said, it was early on, so I never saw her, I don't think, before that. I was like, wow, I hope she gets more projects, and she has been, so good for her.
So I definitely think, Florence Pugh's probably like the main one, but honestly, there are so many. I feel like in almost like any movie I watch, I can just find someone that I'm so inspired by, just because like, you know, when someone can really embody a character and make that person special and make you connect with them, like that's to me one of the most magical things about film. And it's tough. It's harder than it seems. And like I don't think I'll ever have quite the range that someone like Florence Pugh does. But I definitely like I take those performances as inspiration, and sometimes I'll even sit watching a movie and I'll like take notes of like, you know, what they're doing or you know, just little things that I can try. Like, you know, coming from theater, I was definitely a bit too theatrical at first in film, and so I love seeing like how people subtly can convey the most intense emotions. And yeah, I mean, I think every performance is a learning experience.
Oh, for sure. Like you were talking about earlier with the closet scene, you know, having to quiet and having to convey that emotion. And I think that's awesome that you take notes and stuff. It shows how dedicated you are.
Thanks.
It does. I mean, I guarantee you every actress is not doing that.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that.
Sometimes it does like impede the ability to actually like enjoy the film, but you know, I don't do it every time.
No, yeah, and you'll just keep picking up these, you know, little tips and tricks as you go along, like with anything else. Now, when did you first see the finished film for the first time, the Sawyer Massacre?
I think I actually saw it the night that it was like released to the public. Yeah, because I couldn't make it to the premiere, unfortunately, which I'm so bummed about. I still like wish I could have been there. But yeah, so I heard a little bit about it, but I didn't want anyone to tell me too much because I really wanted it to be fresh. So yeah, I saw it the same time, you know, everyone else was able to see it.
And what was your finished thoughts when you saw the whole film finally done for the first time?
I was actually pleasantly surprised. There were days when like I was worried we weren't gonna finish all the scenes, or I was just like, oh, this wind is gonna mess everything up, or you know, like little things like that. It felt kind of scary, but yeah, I mean, watching it now, you can hardly tell that we ever, you know, had any issues like that. And I was really proud of how it turned out, and I was proud of my performance, which I was worried that I would watch it and like, you know, hate every moment of watching myself. But
I'm glad you enjoy it, because I really enjoyed it, and the people I've talked to have seen it, they really enjoy it. So it's definitely a standout performance in the movie.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely everything I dreamed of. So it was awesome to watch it.
Awesome. If he were to make another film, like a sequel to this somehow, would you be down to do it? If Merlo was down to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe you guys make it to Canada. It could be a Canadian Texas, a Canadian Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Anyone in chat have any questions for Nika before we wrap up? Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and doing this. This is fun.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. She sounds. I'll just read comments of. Hey, May. She sounds so professional. It's quite beautiful to see.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
She truly is, May. I saw a few as I go up. Do you have a favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre film?
I've actually only seen the original, so I'm afraid
the first one.
Yeah. So
or well, this one, you've seen this?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I can pick my own. I think that's kind of cheating.
All right, we've
Yeah,
established the rules.
I guess it would have to be the first one by default.
You have to watch the Texas Chainsaw 2 when you get a chance.
Okay.
It's
I'll do that for sure. I
it's
considered watching like was it 2022 or 2021 Netflix one, but apparently it
yeah.
wasn't. So
I didn't care for it much, but
yeah,
some people do. Some
stay
people
away.
like it. I say the remake, if anything. Watch the remake from 2003.
Okay.
That's a great remake. Yeah,
Awesome.
actually, she just beat me to it. You should see
Yeah.
the remake.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
the remake is
review
great.
and the remake. I'll put those on my list.
Sure. All right. Thanks again for coming by. Stay on for a sec. We'll talk for a sec when we get off. But all right, guys, I'll try to have Ringu Spiral out early morning. And thanks for stopping by. And all right, guys, take care.
Thanks.